welcome to the Steller Productions podcast with your host,
Jacob and Rowan.
This is a brand new podcast. If you don't like the name, then I don't know what to tell you, buddy.
No, we're actually open to name suggestions.
Oh, well.
I mean,
Jacob is open to name suggestions. Well, I will take them into consideration if they're actually good, but if they're,
If you have the name suggestion, bring it to me, and then I'll make Rowan agree with it.
You can try.
Okay.
Anyway, so this is our episode 0, as we're going to call it, and today we're going to be explaining a little bit about ourselves, personal stuff, and some interesting topics. Also, why we chose to do this kind of passage, as this is a passage.
Yeah, just things you might want to know about us as you're listening.
Yeah.
So, Rowan, did you want to go ahead and start?
You want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So my name is Rowan Pickard. Walter is my middle name. I'm a 10th grader here at Steller Secondary. So I came to Steller because I have a friend named Paris Droop who was going here while I was in 6th grade. And she was basically the one to tell me about the kind of philosophy that people at Steller have. And so I was very interested in it. Also, that nice 45-minute lunch sounded pretty good, or 55. I know that's not the goal that we want to set for newcomers to the school, but
right.
We say it, and it's really an advertisement when we think about it.
Well, no, I think we're getting away from talking about it a little bit, but I remember when Marla was talking to us about going to other schools and talking to prospective 7th graders to not talk about 50-minute lunch or the free 7th period, because that's not why we want people to come here. And I think that's a good way of looking at it, that we really want to draw people in for what the school really is and not what the schedule is.
Yeah. So 10th grader here. Came to Steller because my friend was going here and kind of taught me a lot about this school and what they like to do here. And I thought that really spoke out to me, and I felt like I could really thrive here. And I've been going since 7th grade, and it's been really fun.
I'm Jacob. I first came to Steller in 6th grade. I came here and shadowed, and it just fit. I came in here, I saw the murals on the wall. I saw kids, classrooms. I saw how small the whole school was, and everything just seemed like it fit. It seemed like a nice place to be, so that's why I came. When I first discussed doing a podcast with Rowan, it was actually a joke. I'd been listening to, I guess, the Joe Rogan Experience, and I had listened to the 7th Hour podcast, which Michael and Augie had done last year at Steller, and I really enjoyed both of those, and I jokingly mentioned doing a podcast with Rowan, but of course, now we are actually doing a podcast. So, what got you excited about that?
Well, as you say it's a joke, but really these kinds of things do speak out to me, and I feel like they can be put to a level where I think we can actually do it. So I believe personally that any idea can be made into fruition if you want to do it badly enough. And I think that, because I also listened to the 7th Hour podcast with Michael and Augie. You guys can check that out on SoundCloud.
Yeah, you should. It's really, really excellent.
Yeah, it was a good passage for them too. But we already had all the equipment, and we figured out that we were just like, hey, you know what? This would be probably really fun. Mm-hmm. So now we're here, and we're sitting in a closet that we have cleaned out in Rosa's Relo and painted.
Thank you, Rosa.
Thank you, Rosa. Shout out to Rosa. Yeah. We would also like to say Rosa's Relo is in need of murals. So if you feel like you want to come out and paint something in Rosa's Relo, she's open to it, and will accept anything that you can come up with appropriately. Our experience with podcasts, obviously, it's very small. You might be hearing the sound of a vacuum right now. I don't know if these microphones will pick that up, but again, we are in a storage closet that we cleaned out. So we're kind of so sorry about the little interruption, but Jacob decided to pause the podcast so he could listen to the vacuum in the background, but it actually didn't pick up.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to make sure. I haven't done this a lot, and well, Rowan, you have some experience with sound and video editing, right?
Yeah,
because you ran a YouTube channel for a while.
Mm-hmm. We didn't want to leave you just with us talking about ourselves. We kind of want to talk about something fairly recent to make this episode, a little longer if you're willing to stick around. So Elon Musk and SpaceX have decided to do a brand new mission called Dear Moon. You can find this on social media, #DearMoon, which I thought is really cool. So basically, it's a program to get artists up into space. And the project coordinator right now, because no one else is confirmed for the mission as of this moment, is Yusaku Maezawa, who's project coordinator.
And he's an artist?
Yeah. I'm not fully aware of his work. I just know that he is the only one that's officially announced for this mission right now. Mm-hmm. But the plan is that from 2018 now to 2023, they're going to basically be prepping who's going up, because it's going to be more than just one guy. And it's just going to have famous artists get launched into space by the year 2023 in a new spaceship that SpaceX has designed. And it's one of those rockets that actually land too. It's not.
What?
Yeah, they're doing a landing rocket
on the moon.
No. I mean, like a re-entry land.
Oh.
Yeah. Basically, it's called. They're calling it the BFR.
BFR. Okay. No, I haven't heard of this one.
Yeah. So this is to support actual people that are going to be. It'll be like a massive cabin, basically, for this rocket to hold a bunch of artists who are basically just making. They're not going to land on the moon, but they're making the plan is to make a round trip. So what they're going to do is they're just going to do like what you've seen, if you guys have seen like the Apollo 11 movie, where they like slingshot around the moon.
Yeah.
It'll be like that. So they're not actually going to land. It's going to be artists being launched into space and be able to experience that. And so they're going to create art while they're up there. And it takes about 3 days to get to the moon. And so, you're going to have a 3-day vacation in space and get to do your art, or whatever you want to call it. But it's a really cool mission, because this will be the first time where like although they will be trained throughout the period of time from now to 2023 to live up there because these aren't astronauts who are training for so long to go up into space. So these are basically some of the first actual civilians, not part of the government, to go up into space and create art. So I thought that was really cool. And again, go check this out. It's on Twitter. There's obviously news articles about it. Any social media, really.
And the spacecraft looks really cool. And I'm assuming they're going to launch it on. Is it the Falcon Heavy rocket?
No, it's its own rocket. This is its own giant rocket.
It might be the Falcon Ultra Heavy, because I know that there was an interview a while back with Elon Musk, and he was talking about a rocket, and supposedly like the payload could be the equivalent weight of the 747, which is just insane when you think about like the percentage of the weight of the total rocket that is actually the payload. It's like the payload's a fairly small amount of the weight of the rocket. And if they're doing those boosters that go back to Earth, that's more fuel that they have to have on the boosters, which is more weight. So pretty amazing.
Yeah, and what's really impressive is that this is going to be a 11 phase flight plan. Then they're going to actually land that massive spacecraft back onto Earth, which is insane.
Yeah.
Because what I've always found interesting about space and how people want to talk about like going to different planets and stuff like that, it was always a race to get to the moon first. was the deal back in the 1960s. So we try to talk about going to other planets and stuff like that in a particularly fast amount of time. But really, all it was just be faster than your opponent to get up there.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was probably like the problem that I have is just it was the most rushed type of like craft that we could come up with for space travel.
Well, yes, but we haven't had the motivation since to do something like that. And now with the way technology is developed, like I talked about with instead of having like all the computers and such, you have a tablet in the spacecraft, and that can do all the things that a very large, heavy display could do. And then you have more technologies with the rocketry itself and making the engines and the fuel and everything. And if you make everything lighter and requires less fuel, then you can you have more capabilities with the rocket. So
yeah, but that's again where it's kind of hard to balance that, because you need more control while you're in space, but at the same time, as you add more, it means more weight, which means more fuel, which it's a sad process.
If you haven't played Kerbal Space Program, it is an excellent game, and you should do it. You know what? People at JPL, the engineers, were playing Kerbal Space Program. That's how good it is.
Yeah.
Go play Kerbal Space Program.
He's real nut about Kerbal Space Program. Pretty good talk. Anyway.
Yeah, good talk.
Thank you for those who have tuned in to the first/episode 0 of the Steller podcast. If you listened all the way through, congratulations. You just listened to us waste about 11 minutes of your time or something like that. We do really appreciate you listening, for those who took the time out of their day. And expect to see more from us very soon.